Hi everyone, this video is a book review about a book that I purchased a few weeks ago from my very favorite thrift store, and the title of this book is Seasons, and it features art by Warabe Aska, and it has poetry that was selected by Alberto Manguel. I do not know if I'm pronouncing their names correctly, so I do apologize if I'm butchering anybody's name. I sincerely am not trying to. But the reason I selected this book, Seasons, is because today is September 22nd, 2022, and it is the first day of fall. It is the autumnal equinox, so I wanted to do something to celebrate this change of seasons. I really love autumn. Autumn is basically my favorite season ever. It used to be summer, but now it's autumn. I love how the weather feels. I love the changing colors of the leaves, and everything slows down, and I can get more focus on my goals because when it's summertime, I just want to be outside. But anyway, this book really caught my eye due to the beautiful artwork featured in it, and I knew I wanted to add it to my children's book collection. But before I get into all of the beautiful things about this book, let me share a little bit with you about the illustrator and I guess the editor or man that compiled the book. So the illustrator, Warabe Aska, this is an old photograph of him. There's more recent photographs of him online, so you can look that up. It says in here, Warabe Aska was born in, I don't know if it's Kagawa or Kagawa, Kagawa, Japan, in 1944, and was trained in graphic and industrial design. By the time he immigrated to Canada in 1979, he had created 5 books for children and illustrated 10 others. Now, one of Canada's most outstanding artists, Warabe Aska is best known for Who Hides in the Park and the award-winning Who Goes to the Park. Now, I looked online trying to find, I guess, a website for him, but I couldn't find anything. But what I did find was he was one of the featured artists on a website called Japanese Canadian Artists, if I can find it. Hold on. And on this website, there are, good grief, he has like a first-person artist statement. Japanese Canadian Artists. Directory. This is his artist statement. My childhood was filled with playing in the outdoors, rather than studying in Japan. I think that the experience of being surrounded by nature has had a great influence on my current imaginative art style. Since transferring the base of my creation to Canada, my style has been spreading even more than imaginable, inspired by the great nature of Canada. Professor Judith Saltman at the University of British Columbia expresses my work as magic realism. And I think that is very, very accurate, because when I saw his art pieces, I was like, oh, this looks very surreal. It looks very dreamlike, fantasy-like. I really, really like it. Some of these people actually look like they're part people, part animal. So yes, I would call it magic realism. Now, as far as Alberto Manguel, I don't know if it's Manuel or Manguel. He is the co-author of the Dictionary of Imaginary Places and has compiled several anthologies. among them black water and other fires. He was born in Argentina and is now a Canadian citizen. Now, this guy, I don't believe he has a website, but don't quote me on that. I do know he has a Wikipedia page, which is very lengthy, and it shows most of his accomplishments, which also are many. So, this is him. He is the director of the National Library of the Argentine Republic. He is an Argentine-Canadian anthologist, translator, essayist, novelist, editor, and a former director of the National Library of Argentina. So right now he is 74 years old. He has very diverse education. Let us see. He is the author of numerous nonfiction books such as The Dictionary of Imaginary Places, A History of Reading, The Library at Night, Homer's Iliad and Odyssey, a biography, and novels such as News from a Foreign Country Came. He also has, though almost all of his books were written in English, 2 of his novels were written in Spanish. He was born to Pablo and Rosalia Manguel, both Jewish. He spent his first years in Israel, where his father, Pablo, was the Argentine ambassador, returning to his native country at the age of 7. Later in Buenos Aires, when Manguel was still a teenager, he met the writer Jorge Luis Borges, a customer of the Pygmalion Anglo-German bookshop in Buenos Aires, where Manguel worked after school. As Borges was almost blind, he would ask others to read out loud for him, and Manguel became one of Borges' readers several times a week from 1964 to 1968. And it just goes about his very fascinating life. Now this book, I don't know if this is a first edition. Apparently, it used to be the property of St. Gabriel the Archangel School in St. Louis. I guess part of their library. It even has, like, what do you call it when they're trying to check out the books? It has the name of some of the students and their room numbers. And the last time it was checked out was 2012, and the first time it was checked out was 1996. So this book has been well read and well loved. It was published in the year 1990 by Doubleday, a division of Bantam Doubleday Dell Inc. in New York, New York. Now, before all of the poems come together, the illustrator starts off with an introduction, and he says, "Throughout each of the 4 seasons, nature shows us many faces. By coming into contact with these and feeling the rhythms of their comings and goings, I am always able to make fresh discoveries and new surprises. This book, Seasons, is filled with the sense of wonder, which I have gained from communing with nature. Wouldn't you like to take each one of these pictures and try to discover something marvelous in them for yourself? Here are some games I thought up, but I'm sure you and your friends can think of many more." He says, 1. The picture on the cover is really made up of lots of other pictures. In fact, I took one image from every picture in the book and put it into the one on the cover. Can you find them all? And then he says, one of my pictures on page 19 is a secret picture because inside I decided to hide 10 sorts of very secret animals. I bet you can't find them all in less than 10 minutes. So this is the cover, which features, as he said, something from each of his pieces in the book. which I think is very, very creative and fun for children. He also dedicates the book to his wife Keiko and to their 3 children, Hayden, Marie, and Kota. So, I'm going to go through this book and read some of my favorite poems that I liked from here. All of these poems are from all over the world, from all different periods of time, and they all feature the wonderful illustrations of Warabe Aska, or the Illustrator. So one poem I loved was called The Garden Flew Round, and it was written by Wallace Stevens. It says, the garden flew round with the angel flew round with the clouds, and the clouds flew round, and the clouds flew round, and the clouds flew round with the clouds. And the illustrator, oh, I forgot to show you a picture of Alberto. This is him, or an old picture. So look, he has a little boy, he has some children flying, there's a fish, there's some fish kites, and there's some fish in the sky. Dude, I wish there was some fish in the sky. I would have a fish fry for free, for real. But anyway, with each poem, they have a small, very brief bio of the poet, and it's on this side. The only complaint I have about this book is sometimes it's hard to read the bio because of the strip of color. I almost wish they had just put it underneath the poem, but what do I know? So it says Wallace Stevens from the United States. He lived from 1879 to 1955. This is from The Pleasures of Merely Circulating in Collected Poems. After working as a reporter and an independent lawyer, Stevens took a legal job at the age of 40 in an insurance company. He remained there until his death, and for the longest time, his colleagues had no idea that at the desk next to theirs sat one of the greatest geniuses of modern poetry. It's kind of sad when I read about poets or artists who became famous after they passed away. Their work was cherished after they were dead. Sometimes as an artist, that thought might come through your mind, and you have to make a decision. Am I making art for myself? Am I making art for the world? Am I making it for fame? If you make it just for fame, you'll never be happy. But if you make it for yourself and to bring joy to others, it won't matter if you've gained fame in your lifetime. You've already done your job. You've already done your task. That's what I had to come through in my conclusion as an artist. This one is so beautiful. I don't know what flowers these are, but I've seen them before. But it's Meditation in the Rain. Oh, the quiet of the rain in the garden. My heart suffers change in this chaste landscape. In a rumor of thoughts so sad and humble, it settles deep down inside me, a rustle of doves. And it has 2 children hiding from the rain, or I guess sheltering themselves from the rain, and some flowers. Look at all these beautiful flowers. Like, God, what are these called? I don't remember. I've seen them before, though. And this poem was written by Federico Garcia Lorca. The first time I ever read his poem was when I was 14 years old, so that's how I recognized him when I read this book. But it says Federico Garcia Lorca, who was from Spain. He lived 1898 to 1936. And Meditation in the Rain is from his book In Libro de Poemas, 1918 to 1920. It was translated from Spanish by, Alberto, Lorca believed that a poet was someone gifted with something he called, I don't know if it's duende or duende, D-U-E-N-D-E, which in Spanish means imp. And I guess an imp would be somewhat like a spirit or a fairy. Lorca's imp led him to write verse inspired by Spain's Arab and Gypsy roots and powerful poetic plays. Lorca was murdered by nationalist soldiers during the Spanish Civil War. This picture, I don't care about the poem. This page, I really don't care about the poem. I just like this picture. It's a rainbow. Look at this. Hey! Look, even the dog. I just love this picture. Yeah, I just wanted to show you the picture. Okay, this poem I really liked. It's called Song of the Soul, and it's written by St. John of the Cross. O night that was my guide, O darkness dearer than the morning's pride, O night that joined the lover to the beloved bride, transfiguring them each into the other. And St. John of the Cross was born in Spain, or from Spain, lived 1542 to 1591, and the Song of the Soul is from Cantico Espiritual in Poems. It's translated from Spanish by Roy Campbell. He was a contemporary of Cervantes and of Shakespeare. St. John of the Cross was the finest mystical poet of Spain's golden age. He wrote very little, less than 1,000 lines altogether, but the beauty of his language remains unsurpassed. So this beautiful picture has a couple. I don't know how old they are. They might be middle-aged or a little bit older. They're sitting in the woods. And over here, it looks like Cupid shooting the arrows of love. And then down below, you see a reflection of Cupid. So pretty. And then above is like a shooting star. Your wishes are coming true. This one is called Summer Song, and it's written by an anonymous poet from Germany in the 13th century. And it says, Summer Song. Summer's here, joy draws near, meadows flower, colors shower, sun rekindles, sorrow dwindles. And this song is one of a collection of lyrics written in Latin and discovered in an abbey in Bavaria. Because of this, they were called Carmina Burana, or Bavarian songs. The collection includes love poems, satires, and comic verse, and was set to music by the composer Karl Orff. This picture, I really like it. And you know what it reminds me of? You know those pamphlets that Jehovah's Witnesses will have of people like greeting each other in heaven? This kind of reminds me of that. The first thing I saw were just babies. It's like Babyland. There's babies, there's a pregnant lady, there's some kids. It's just really cute. And this is the page where he's hidden 10 animals. I won't tell you where the animals are hidden, but in the back of the book he shows you where they're hidden, so you can find them yourself. Look at this. It's a baby. Baby, another baby. It's a baby. It's so cute. This picture I really like. I'm not going to read the poem, but I do love this painting of women dancing around. This kind of reminds me of Ostara, the coming of spring. Okay, this poem I really liked. It's written by an anonymous poet from Egypt in 1500 BC. And it's from Love Poems of Ancient Egypt, published by New Directions in 1962. It's translated from Ancient Egyptian by Ezra Pound and Noel Stock. It goes love song. I am first among your loves, like a freshly sprinkled garden of grass and perfumed flowers. Your voice gives life like nectar. To see you is more than food or drink. And in this image, there's like 3 different weddings going on in the same place. Very beautiful. You have a wedding going on right here. You have a wedding going on over there. And in the back, you see another little wedding. So cute. This actually looks like the 70s. Hold up. Let me go. In the back of the book, he has the titles of each of these paintings. So this is page 22 or 23. He made this in 1982, so a little after the 70s. It's called Saturday Afternoon in the Edwards Gardens. Oil on canvas, 51 or 20 by 28 inches. This poem is called The Puppeteers, and it's written by Fujiwara no Tadamachi, who was from Japan and lived from 1907 to, hold on, wrong one, 1097 to 1164. The Puppeteers from the Anthology of Japanese Literature. It was translated by Burton Watson throughout the 11th and 12th centuries. There were groups of gypsy-like people who wandered throughout Japan, performing puppet shows and magic tricks. The poet Fujiwara no Tadamachi wrote this poem in Chinese, considered the cultured language of the time. And it goes like this, The Puppeteers. Ceaseless wanderers from of old, the puppeteers, over all the earth searching ever a new home. They pitch their tents and sing in the night to the mountain moon. I like this because I used to be a puppeteer. I was a puppeteer as a child. I was on the puppet team at church, and I would have like 2 puppets on my hand. I was like on the worship team, like they say to move the puppet's mouth, you have to move your thumb. You can't move like this. You move it. Yeah, and we would have to practice and strengthen our thumb. But this picture looks creepy, and I'm loving it. They're under a weeping willow tree. They're dancing. Look at this child. He hasn't slept in days, I guess. Wandering, being nomads. Oh, don't scratch me. A poem for autumn. Autumn Day. Written by Rainer Maria Rilke. I don't know if it's Rilke or Rilke. And this person, or this guy, was from Austria, lived 1875 to 1926. The poem Autumn Day was translated from German by Stephen Mitchell. He was a European born in Prague of a German-speaking family. When it came under Austrian domination and lived in Russia, France, and Italy, he believed that behind everyday things was a greater reality. He tried to describe it in his poems. And this is how the poem goes. Lord, it is time. The huge summer has gone by. Now overlap the sundials with your shadows, and on the meadows let the wind go free. Command the fruits to swell on the tree and vine, grant them a few more warm transparent days, urge them on to fulfillment then, and press the final sweetness into the heavy wine. And this picture, I'm just digging it. It has all of my favorite autumn colors. The hot air balloons are pumpkins. Where does this man think of these things? Like, dang, I'm really loving his work. I'm inspired. I need to amp up my painting game, okay? Like, I need to be more creative and more surreal with my art. But, yeah, some of the poems I'm like, oh, that's nice. And some of the paintings, or actually almost all of the paintings, I'm like, this is awesome. I don't even need a poem. I just want to look at the art. These children look like they got their hair blow dried. I love the hair on his people, for real. Ooh, this one was very beautiful. It's called Prayer to the Moon, and it's written by an anonymous poet from Ethiopia. And it says, Prayer to the Moon is from In Prayers of African Religion, edited by Professor John Mbiti, The Society for Promoting Christian Knowledge, London, 1972, and it was translated from Amharic by him. This prayer is chanted with the rise of the new moon. There are similar Ethiopian prayers thanking the sun for rising and the rain for falling. It says, May you be for us, moon, a joy of joy and happiness. Let the stranger come to the end of his journey, and those who remain home dwell safely in their houses. May you be a moon of harvest and of calves. May you be a moon of restoration and good health. Look at the detail on the, he went in and literally went on every little thing of grain. Like, dude, you are intense. Every little, I am impressed. I am impressed. It goes about winter. It's a poem by Margaret Atwood. And to end, Dreams, which is a poem written by Victor Hugo. And Victor Hugo was from France, lived 1802 to 1885. It was translated from French by Alberto. Hugo was the author of great romantic novels such as Les Miserables, if that's how you pronounce it, and The Hunchback of Notre Dame. He was also a powerful poet and an eloquent defender of civil liberties. It says, Dreams. Sometimes out in the shapeless space, look there, my child, and you shall see. A sudden planet passes by. It flies, approaches, runs, draws nigh. Of such fantastic spheres, the universe is made. Look at these children flying. Fly, children, to the moon. Fly. So beautiful. So yeah, I'm loving this book. I hope it's still in print. If it isn't, I would get it on eBay or Amazon. This is very beautiful to read, if you are just relaxing on a nice sunset day or sunrise morning, or if you're stuck inside from the winter, you can read it in all seasons. Or if you are a teacher, teaching your class different poems, getting them ready for the changes of nature. Also, if you are an art teacher, I guess teaching your class magic realism, make it be expressive through the canvas or through collage, whichever you choose. But yeah, I highly recommend this book, and thank you all for listening and reading poems with me. I will talk to you all at a later time with more books to review. Happy reading. Oops.